You're listening to the Holistic Health Front podcast.
Whether you've already taken steps towards a healthier life,
or you're just starting to explore this path,
this podcast aims to help all of us live longer and more energized lives,
so we can all do the things we want and be the person we know we can be.
We bring on functional health experts, parents, professionals, and everyday people who want to make positive changes in their lives.
And we create powerful conversations about how to feel good in a fun, easy, and understandable way,
so you can live the most fulfilling life possible.
Enjoy today's discussion and let us hear your thoughts in our Powerful People Facebook group.
The information presented in this podcast is not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease.
If you have any questions about your health or the health of a loved one, please consult your healthcare practitioner.
Now let's begin.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Holistic Health Front podcast. We are super excited that you're joining us again. We just have so much fun when we get together as health coaches. And tonight we're super excited because we get to highlight one of we do spotlights on our health coaches. And you guys all know Ramey. I'm Ramey. You guys all know Courtney Ramey. She's been with us since the beginning. And we talked a little bit before we got on, but our coach spotlight tonight is going to be Courtney Ramey. And we're also excited because Tyler's been on a little bit of a hiatus. And so he's joining us again. We've missed that testosterone. I mean, not that we girls don't love to talk, but it's always great, with the holistic health to have a balance of everything. So we're excited to have Tyler back tonight too. Tyler, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so tonight what we're going to do is, I know you've heard Courtney and Shannon and Tyler and I talk a lot, but oftentimes we have guests and we're talking about a particular subject. But tonight, we're going to actually spotlight Courtney, and we're going to talk about Courtney. So Courtney's business is called Finding Balance with Courtney. And we're just going to ask a few things about that. But Courtney, I'm excited to learn a little bit more about your background. And I know more probably, and I know Shannon and Tyler do too, just because we've been on here long enough. But a lot of people don't know all the things that you do and kind of your little journey to where we got here. So first off, Courtney, thank you for being our spotlight guest tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be spotlighted. So thank you.
Yeah. And it's a little nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually. I'm like, oh my God, you're all looking at me or listening to me. You guys are looking at me.
I know. And it's so funny because we do this all the time, but we have guests and we have other topics that we're talking about when all of a sudden it's on you, all those human things come into play. And so, I feel a little nervous, being the focus of attention. So I get that. So Courtney, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about, a lot of people don't know you live on an island. You're out in the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. John. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. So I want to let our audiences know that Courtney is joined every night by the tree frogs. If you cannot hear them, they are part of the island ambiance. And so if you ever hear Courtney talk, you're also going to hear her. She's always joined by the tree frogs, and tree frogs have such positive energy. I'm one of those people that follows spirit and animal vibrations. And so anytime an animal comes into my life, I always look it up and I look about the purpose for it and all that type of stuff. So tree frogs have really, really positive energy. So we're glad that they're joining us. But I want to know a little bit about, did you grow up on St. John? How did you get here? Tell us a little bit about Courtney, pre-health coach, and how you kind of navigated your way through here. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about Courtney.
Okay. Well, originally born in Texas. Okay. Then my family moved to California, and I lived there for 24 years. I've lived in Germany, and I briefly lived in Senegal in Africa, and Portland, Maine for a little bit, and back to the Caribbean. This is actually the second time I've lived on St. John. I moved here in 2013 and then went through Irma and Maria and left after that. It was pretty devastating. But I did return back because this is where my heart is, and I felt very pulled to come back here, and I am once again living my best life, and I'm grateful for that because it was quite a journey to get back to St. John, and I can tell a little bit about that. While I was stateside, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which came as a complete shock to me. and my doctor as well. And so I went through lumpectomy and radiation. And during that time, I really reflected on my life. Am I happy doing what I'm doing? And the answer was no. I wasn't happy where I was living. My relationship with my partner wasn't great anymore. I wasn't in love with the business that I was doing. And I wanted to redirect my life. So I spent, the times while I was healing, figuring out what it was. And I thought, I want to help other people. I want to go back to school. What do I want to do? And I came across the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which I thought was a beautiful mix of science and woo-woo. And that was right up my alley. So I enrolled, and it felt so good to do that. And I also became interested in Reiki. And I got my Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 over the course of a year. So I am a Reiki practitioner. I'm also doing that under the Finding Balance with Courtney umbrella. And I realized as part of this self-reflection, I don't love where I'm living. And so I thought, where was I most happy in life? And St. John was it. Even though that I had gone through those tragic hurricanes, I knew I wanted to be back. And so I made the move, drove the car and the cat down to Florida, shipped my Subaru over to St. John, and started again on St. John.
Wow.
Here I am.
So you said something that's funny to me. You shipped your Subaru over to St. John.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't drive it, right?
No.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it's so funny when I've been stateside, aside from vacations, I've been stateside my whole life. So there's just these things that you don't think about. You shipped your car over to St. John. That's funny. So yeah. I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about how your process with being diagnosed with breast cancer. There's a lot of emotions that go in with that. A lot of emotions in telling your family, how do you accept it? Do you not accept it? Because you don't want it to become your identity and take over and make, just manifest even worse things. But, you want to keep it in its place and, seek harmony. So can you elaborate more on that part?
Yeah. So the diagnosis when I got it was unbelievable. I questioned my doctor. Are you sure you have the right file? Are you sure? Triple check again, quadruple check again. And she said, yeah, I'm just as surprised as you are because I was a very healthy eater, very active. I appeared to be happy in life. And so getting that diagnosis, I remember I got it when I was at work and I finished my shift just kind of in a daze. And just kind of went home and processed the information. And I thought, okay, people beat this all the time. And, I'll figure out my next steps, which is what I did. I went the Western medicine route and I had the lumpectomy, which was going into surgery as an adult for me was terrifying. I was very worried I wasn't going to wake up. And then I had to just remind myself, okay, if I don't wake up, then that's what was meant to be. But of course I did wake up. And I remember in my days, as they're wheeling me out of the emergency room, I said to the nurse, I woke up. And I remember that. So that was hard. And unfortunately, my partner at the time did not know how to help me emotionally, physically during that. Aside from cancer being a very lonely situation on top of it, I was lonely at home because I wasn't getting the support I needed. And then I went to do radiation. And I actually had the option to do radiation or not. And my thought process on that was I spent one day with the decision that, yes, I'm going to do it. And I wrote down all the feelings that I thought. And the next day, I made the decision of I'm not going to get radiation. And I wrote down all the feelings that I felt throughout the day and really listened to my intuition. And I decided that I am going to go through radiation. Chances of it not coming back are just that much greater than if I didn't. And I knew that I would be getting attention from all of the nurses, like just on me. And I hadn't been getting attention just for myself in a very, very long time. So that actually weighed in like a little bit of attention and care where I wasn't getting it in my life. And that was the thought process. And I'm glad I went through and did it. It was very uncomfortable in terms of physically. Luckily, I didn't burn or blister, but it was a very tender time physically and emotionally as well. But I remember ringing the bell, and my parents came to be with me during that time, and that was really supportive and helpful, even though I think I was super cranky when they were there. But I do appreciate their presence, even though I was cranky pants and tired. I do appreciate them for that.
This episode is brought to you by oxygen and carbon dioxide. Breathe deep, breathe slow. Are you tired of nagging headaches, body pains, and feeling like you've been steamrolled by 2 p.m.? Ugh. Want to feel more alive with a clearer mind, voice, and skin?
Yep.
And not to mention getting rid of that pesky BO when the deodorant starts to wear off?
Ew.
Introducing to you today, water. Did you know that 75% of American adults are chronically dehydrated? And did you know that majority of people who are dehydrated think that they actually are hydrated? That means most people are not drinking enough water. But if they did, and they realized how much of a massive difference it makes in how they feel to be hydrated, they would realize that water can change their life. So drink more water. Aim for 96 fluid ounces per day minimum for adults. Side effects include peeing more often the first couple of weeks, but don't worry, it will slow down soon. I know I should really drink less caffeine. I just wish there was some way of getting energy in the morning without a coffee. Ah, the sun! Wait a minute. I feel good. Especially when I close my eyes and stare at the sun through my eyelids. Wow, this is great. I think I'm ready to crush this day now. Thanks, sun. The sun. Use it for free with care. We'll be getting back to the show in just a minute, but first, I want to really encourage you to join our free community on Facebook. It's called the Powerful People Community, and it's a place where you can interact with other listeners of the show, including me, our other coaches and co-hosts and everybody. And it's a place where you can ask questions publicly or anonymously. You can request episode topics, you can share your story, and celebrate with a group of really amazing people who will also be celebrating you. So we really hope to see you in the community. We think we're building something really special because we believe when you bring together a group of powerful people, there's just so many great things we can do in this world, more than we could do on our own. So we're building a special community, and we hope to talk to you there soon. Now, let's get back to the show. I was just asking about the emotional side of things. You know, I saw a parallel between the optimism that you and my mom felt when at the beginning, like when you first hear the news, like it almost seemed like the initial instinct was to be optimistic. And then I also experienced the roller coaster of emotions that my mom went through, and it was like she had to be very intentional about how she was able to like give space to feel those emotions and then also like be proactive and do the things that she needed to do for her health. And I just wonder what your experience was with those emotions. Like, did you remain optimistic throughout, or were there ups and downs that you experienced? And if there were downs, you know, how did you greet those moments, right? Like, how did you meet those emotions?
Right. It was a roller coaster for sure. But I knew deep down that I was going to be okay through this experience. I mean, I'd never had this experience before, nor have I been around somebody who has gone through breast cancer, or my sister-in-law went through a blood cancer quite some time ago, but she lived in California. I live here in St. John, so I was still a little bit removed from that, not really understanding. But going through it on my own was hard, and I'm grateful that at the time I lived in Maine, and Maine has this organization called the Dempsey Center, and the Dempsey Center is cancer patients, so many resources, and I was able to connect with a group therapy, a women's group therapy for cancer, and I found a ton of support there, and I was able to go up and down and see other people, other women going up and down as well, and that really made me feel less alone. And it was a very real group. I mean, there was no sugarcoating. We talked about whatever needed to be talked about, and it was. I'm grateful for that resource. Anybody in Maine, if you're listening and you have cancer, please look up the Dempsey Center. It's really super supportive and fabulous.
And that journey, having that support, kind of made you want to turn around and support others as well. And that's how was that one of the things as you got through that, that life changing experience for you to say, I really want to do this and I'm going to find a way to do this. And that's when health coaching became an avenue for you to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this breast cancer was for me a gift, because it was my cosmic 2x4 to like, okay, now what? What are you going to do with this? Like, you've looked at your life. Now what are you going to do? It's time for a major redirection. And that's what I did. I went back to school. I changed my job. So now I am a health coach and a Reiki practitioner. I'm not doing what I was doing beforehand, which wasn't fulfilling. I'm now living in a place that I have created a beautiful community of friends and acquaintances and coworkers. I'm so grateful for that. And I'm able to be out in nature any time of the year, really. I can hike and snorkel as long as it's not raining outside. Well, I guess I could still do both of those if I wish, but I choose not to because I like to be dry. Tyler?
Yeah, it's amazing. That's incredible that you were able to do all that. I'm curious though, that reflection period that you had, right? Like you took some time, I guess, to really like sit down and search within yourself to find out what it was that you truly wanted to do with your life. And I'm curious, like, it's an amazing before and after story, right? Like to go through the experience you did, and then to decide, hey, I'm going to make all these changes, and look at where you're at now and what you've done already in just a short amount of time. But I think that there's something in that reflection period that, I'm curious with a little more detail, and what that reflection period was like for you, and how did you come to the conclusion that this is what you really want to do? And not even how did you come to the conclusion, but like, what did you do to help yourself figure out what it is you wanted to do?
I was seeing a therapist who was pivotal in my transformation. If I didn't have her, I don't know where I would be. And the focus of our sessions was rebuilding my self-worth, because I wasn't there. I was in a relationship that wasn't working, but I couldn't leave because I just didn't know how. I didn't believe that I was worthy of either going at life on my own, or leaving the relationship. And it was a lot of work, and I did little rituals and just reminded myself, and I did a ton of writing. Morning pages was fabulous. And I'm just thinking of this right now. I truly believe that my breast cancer was situational, because I was not happy in so many aspects of my life that my body cried for help. And that was a cry for help. And it took so much for me to finally listen. There were other little cries for help that were going on in my life, but it took my body crying for help with cancer to get me to make a move. And the reflection was hard. And I have to remember, or I have to recall, I'll tell you guys about the pivotal moment when I realized, like, wait, I really, really can't change anybody. Because I was trying to change the people in my life to do what I wanted them to do. And it wasn't happening. And I remember I was washing dishes and I thought, wait, no, I'm the one who has to change. I can't exert any power over anyone else. And it was like this big ta-da! As I've got soapy hands and I'm doing the dishes. And I just remember thinking, that's it. Okay, now what? Now what do I do? And, I talked to my therapist about this. I met with her probably every 2 weeks. In fact, I still meet with her, and she is now my coach because I don't live in Maine anymore. And she's moving into a coaching arena anyway. So I have a coach. I'm grateful for her. And she picks me up when I need a little help. She redirects me and gives me some cool ideas to do. And I'm really grateful. Like I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the support of a therapist / coach in my life to get me where I am and give me the confidence and realize, like, yeah, I am worth it. As is right now, warts and all, I'm worth the life that I dream of, and believing that I made it happen. And I'm grateful. So grateful for that. And it's not like, okay, I'm here, I'm gonna coast. It still requires work to stay where I am, to stay healthy, to really check in and be like, okay, is this serving me? Does this feel right in my gut? Does this feel right in my heart? Is this something that is going to keep me healthy? And these are things I think of. So it's always, and things are changing. Like I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I thought, I'm going to be a health coach. And yes, I have the certification to be a health coach, I'm certificated to be a health coach. But I kind of went on another niche so I can help women find their self-worth, because that is so important. I think there's so many of us that don't have the support and know innately, but they don't know how to really live their self-worth. And that's what I do. And I love that. Just seeing the changes in my clients is so rewarding. Little by little, as they begin to sparkle and realize, like, yeah, that's right. Okay, yes, I am worth that. And that to me, that rocks my world.
Beautiful, powerful. Wow. You mentioned through your reflection period, one thing that was really helpful for you was the morning pages. And just want to clarify for our listeners, I know we've mentioned it before, but just in case somebody's listening for the first time, morning pages being, maybe you can define it, because we all know what morning pages is, but for you, Courtney, and during that period of your time, what did you actually do? What did that mean to you? And how do you think that, how did that help you specifically?
Yes, it still helps me to this day. It's Julia Cameron. She wrote the book, The Artist's Way, and she talks about morning pages in that. And that is sitting down in the morning when you're still in that liminal, lucid space and just doing a complete brain dump for 3 pages, front and back. Just write about whatever, the cereal you might eat, what you did yesterday, what's going on in your mind, whatever comes up, that you fed the cat, you should have fed the cat a different food, whatever comes up in your mind, and you just dump. And so I would do that, and then the last few sentences I would say, today I intend XYZ. And those last intention sentences, more times than not, manifested. And it's such a powerful tool to have that clear brain, because you've dumped it all out, and to have the intentions come out. Now, sometimes I don't have time to do morning pages. I will still write my intentions. And I think by stating that, the universe is like, aha, I hear you. Are you ready? Step into that. The morning pages is a great tool to become clear And you don't have to be a good writer. You don't have to be able to read it later. Scribble it on down. Shannon, did you have something?
Yes. Now, I have been coached by you, and I have had Reiki sessions, both in person and remotely. And I thought that people would like to hear a little bit more about what it's like to be coached by you.
Shannon, could you tell us what it's like to be coached by Courtney?
Well, sure, but I thought
Put
we
you on
would
the spot.
start with what is her idea? Okay, so she has a new client. Okay, so where does she start? And what does that process look like when she starts with a new person, right? And then we'll bring in, okay, and so this was my experience, but we could do it the other way if you like. So to be coached by Courtney, I appreciate that I always have space to speak. And it doesn't have to be positive. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And she is always present with wherever I am. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And our coaching sessions start at 6 o'clock in the morning for me. And I don't do morning pages. I don't. I'm not that much of a morning person. So it's always interesting, I'm sure, when Courtney's listening to me, what falls out of my head at that hour. But by the end of it, I definitely have a open perspective on how to look at whatever we're talking about that day. And she always has great ideas. Like I said, I don't do the morning pages, but writing the intentions. Have been very curious experiment, if you will, to try and to see what happens. On a good day, I can remember what I wrote, so I can put more energy into it, allowing me to focus more on that goal or that intention. Not going to lie, some days are just way too hectic. But I always appreciate her coming back around. So how did it go? How are you feeling? How did you feel during that process? So that's awesome. And then the Reiki sessions, they're good, but I'm not going to lie, the ones in person are way cooler. I had the privilege of going to St. John for this session, so that helps, right? The whole ambience was pretty freaking awesome. And I did a quick live about it that's on my Facebook page. It was very awesome. Courtney was spot on with opening up my heart. When she was doing that, I'm a visual person, so I remember seeing the green light, which represents the heart chakra. And then she was also I was even more impressed with the root chakra and what she was physically experiencing and what I was experiencing. It was mind-blowing how in tune she was. Now, of course, she knows me, she's been coaching me, so there was some things like that. But she was also very well grounded as to make sure it wasn't her own thoughts guiding, but instead was intuitive to what does my body need, not what does Courtney think it might need. And it was super cool. Yes, that's my experience.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
Now we all want to have a Reiki session with Courtney. So I've had Reiki done before in person. And
we'll all go to St. John. It'll be fun. Soon as the hurricane season passes.
Right. We'll wait for hurricane season to pass and then we'll do that. And, the energy and stuff. That's one of the things that, Courtney, I think you take a lot of your intention just through when I've got to know you and when we talk about your practice and what you do with your clients, you're very intentional. And the intention, like Shannon just said, is on that person speaking. And I can't say that I've had Courtney coach me, but Courtney and I have been on this podcast enough to know that we tend to talk. And there's been times where, we we get to talking, and she will grab the essence of what you're saying, even if the words aren't quite articulated the way that we hope they would come out. And she has a way of reflecting that back to you. And so, Courtney, I just love that about your coaching style. Like I said, I haven't personally been coached by you, but because we're close and we do this, I definitely know what Shannon's talking about. She's very good about listening and intentional about making sure the focus is all about what that person needs and not necessarily what Courtney's education was or what Courtney thinks might be the best, course of action. It's where that person is at that moment in time. And she feels it more, and this is me, you can describe it, but it's definitely an essence that you're able to pick up on and not just what was verbally expressed. And I feel that when we're together, Courtney. So I'm sure that you do that in your healing practice as well. I mean, healing practice in your coaching work as well. So I want to just talk a little bit about your focus, because you said at the beginning that your finding balance with Courtney is about women and self-esteem. Again, when you want to talk a little bit more about that being your focus and, how you got to that place.
Yeah, women and self-worth, because I struggled so much with realizing that I am worthy. And that's why I stay in relationships longer than I need to. I stay at jobs longer than I need to in the past. And because I thought, well, what if there's nothing better? And, what if I'm making the wrong decision? Instead of really focusing on, well, what do you want? Are you feeling good in this? Is this serving your highest and best good where you are right now? And just once I determined that I am worthy, and I do lean on my spirituality with my worthiness as well, because I know that there is a power greater than I, and I lean into it when I am uncertain. Like, okay, this is happening in my life right now. Let me take a deep breath. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's really exciting. This is for my highest and best good. Okay, here we go. And just knowing that I am worthy for the good things to unfold in life helps me to go about my day in a positive way and to accept things that may not be positive feeling at the moment, and maybe be able to turn them around into like, okay, I see how this has actually helped me, even though it was a bump. I learned from it. And I think without self-worth, we can get kind of bogged down and feeling kind of helpless. And that is a place that I know that we can rise from, men and women. Like all of us have self-worth issues. All of us do. And every one of you listening, you are worthy right now as you are. I know this. Even though I may not know you, I know you're worthy just because you exist on this earth, on this physical plane, doing what you're doing. You're bringing a gift of some sort. We don't know yet what all of our gifts may be. Right now, this is my gift, but in 10 years, I could be offering another gift to the world. I don't know. Life is unpredictable, and I try not to have certain goals. I kind of like to go with the flow, even though it's kind of like a roller coaster, with the trust that everything is going to be okay, because I deserve everything to be okay.
Absolutely. And I think so many of us, I love how you called your breast cancer a cosmic 2x4. Did I hear that right?
Yes, you did.
I love that, because sometimes we really do need to get hit over the head by a 2x4 to recognize that we're not moving in the direction that is most authentic for us. What's the thing? If If you listen to the body whisper, you'll never have to hear it scream. But we often do not listen to the body whisper. You guys have heard my story. I just decided to plow right over that limit and then keep going and going and going. And I knocked myself out of commission. I mean, I had adrenal fatigue so bad I couldn't get off the couch. I literally was horizontal for like 9 months, because I just didn't listen. That cosmic 2x4, hell, I was ignoring the 2x4 and I had to have the whole thing collapse down on top of me. And so I love that that's part of what you do in your coaching. And one of the things that I want to point out here for our listeners is that our coaches do what we do for you, we follow for ourselves. Shannon just said, Courtney has coached me. And Courtney just said, I have a therapist and she's become my coach. We value that connection to somebody that's going to be a sounding board, they're not going to tell us what to do. They're just going to give us a space to figure it out ourselves. A sounding board seems like it's not help me out, guys. There's a better word for it, because what a great coach does, and what I know Courtney does, is that it's not just listening, it's actually allowing that person to little by little discover themselves, and what their journey is going to be. And so I love that you're talking about the help that you got, Courtney. And you just didn't wake up and be like, damn it, I've got it all figured out, so I'm going to help everybody else figure it out. No, we've all had these journeys, right? And I think that's what makes us authentic and able to connect on a greater level through our coaching. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree?
I still don't have it all figured out. I'm figuring it out as I go. My God.
Yeah.
What do they say? I'm building the plane as I'm flying it. That's how I roll. Because if I wait for everything to be perfect, I'm going to be waiting my entire life. So you just step out and know it's going to be good. And I can say this because I have been practicing this for decades, knowing that the universe has my back. Do I fumble sometimes? Yes, I did. Maybe about 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I just had a major meltdown and I just went into just this negative space and just super, I had a very large scarcity mindset. And I was so grateful to have therapy that day. And she was like, all right, you've got to take your thinking from your brain and move it into a heart-centered way of thinking. Because my intention this year is to lead with love. And I don't know if I've told some of you this before, but I remember when I was a kid, I felt all of my thoughts came from my heart. That's where I thought all my thinking was. Like that's where my brain was in my mind. And I remember asking someone, where do thoughts come from? And they said, your brain. And I felt it move. And I've been trying to get it back there this whole time. Like, I really liked thinking from here. And I believe when we can all get back to thinking from here, this earth is going to be something else. It's going to be a multi-dimensional plane of sparkles and rainbows. Unicorns too.
I love sparkles and rainbows.
Courtney says here she's putting her hand on her heart.
Thank you.
Right?
Tyler. Yes. Yeah. Once we all begin to think, we're using our heart brain, because we've got our brain, our gut brain, and we've got a heart brain for sure. We have a heart brain.
Yeah. I've always said that our emotions are our compass, and when you pull those emotions in, and all of them are good, right? We tend to not want to feel the yucky ones, but the yucky ones have just as much information for us as the ones that feel good or joyful. And one of my big things about emotions, and that's what I love about health coaching, is allowing people to explore them all. And what you talk about, Courtney, bringing those emotions, I got to feel this. I got to feel this. Why am I feeling this dissent? Why am I feeling this discord? Why am I so triggered? Whatever it is, and to explore them instead of just kind of push them aside and being like, okay, I'll quit bitching and let's talk about what I want to do. And I want to go back to your bitching because that's usually a big indicator of what direction we might need to go. So I love that that's a focus for you in your coaching, practice and what you do.
Yeah, I ask a lot of questions like, okay,
Yeah.
you're bitching about something. Let's keep digging. Like where is the deeper thing you're really upset about? And that can take some time if my clients don't want to uncover that or let me see it. That's okay when they're comfortable, and eventually they are. Then it happens, and we can start working on that. And once we get there, I like to take that belief that's deep down and work on reframing it with them, so it can still be there, a belief, but it is different and it is positive, and it will make your life go into a slightly different trajectory. And we've all got these deep-seated beliefs that need, well, I guess it depends. When you want to, when you're ready to work on any deep-seated beliefs, they can be massaged and worked through. And that's when your subconscious mind is just, when you rewrite these things, it goes to work for you. That's when synchronicities abound. And things just start lining up, and you're like, okay, wow, this is easy. And that feels good. I'm like, yeah, okay, it is easy because you're worth it. Period. You're worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am sorry, I accidentally muted myself there and I started to talk. So our focus, we've talked about Courtney, and she does Reiki. For those in our audience that don't know what Reiki is, I've also been dabbling in energy modalities for the last 2 decades, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. I love woo-woo on steroids.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, woo-woo on steroids. I mean, one of these days I'm going to really slip, and you're going to really see my funky side. My sister, for Christmas a couple years ago, she bought me a sign that said, "Hey, your crazy's showing. You might want to tuck that back in." But I want to talk about what is Reiki, and how does that complement you as a coach, and what you like. A lot of people don't know what Reiki is, so let's talk about that. What is Reiki?
Reiki is an energetic healing modality. And what I do when I'm with a client, whether it's distance or in person, is I channel a healing energy through my body and into their body. It's not my energy that is being used at all. So I don't get tired. In fact, the more Reiki I do, the more energized I feel and more positive I feel, because it's just this beautiful energy. One thing I love about this beautiful energy is that it only works for your highest and best good. So there's no ill intent. Even if somebody were to use Reiki for something bad, it wouldn't work, because that's not the nature of the energy. And what I like to do is pull the energy through my head and my feet and out my hands. And when I'm with a client, I listen to my intuition, and I am guided. And I may see colors, I may hear words, I may hear phrases, I may feel sensations. And at the end of the session, we talk about that. But there have been times where I have been like physically pulled by a force to move to another part of the body, and I just go. And I don't question it, because this power is greater than I am. And I am not the healer in this. What Reiki does is allow your body to become relaxed, re-regulated, and allow for energy to move through you, which allows your body to be in a state that can heal itself. I firmly believe that our bodies have the ability 100% to heal themselves when we give it the right tools. That includes water, food, spiritual practice, even going to the doctor, but Reiki, that all these things help. Massage therapy helps. Talk therapy helps. All of these tools, when you give your body what it needs, it responds in kind. And now with our culture, we're so very go, 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 go. We don't have a lot of time to rest and relax and listen to our body. Reiki gives you that opportunity. When my clients come to me for Reiki, it is their time. There aren't any interruptions. Well, maybe you might hear some roosters crowing. That's just St. John. That's how it is. We've got all sorts of wild animals around here, including the humans. Ha ha ha.
Absolutely.
And the Reiki is an opportunity to allow your body to realign. And maybe it takes one session, maybe it takes a few more. I do have clients that I've seen only one time. I have clients that I see often. And each experience is different because it's a different time, it's a different healing. And
yes. And I think you're one of the things that you said, because I've been doing energy medicine for almost 2 decades, and one of the things that you said that I want to reiterate is that the healing doesn't come from Courtney. The healing doesn't come from Stephanie. You aren't the healer. What you do is facilitate that person to connect to a divine flow, to a higher power, to their original blueprint. Whatever, we can use all sorts of different words, but we aren't stepping in the way. What we're doing is just facilitating that so that that flow gets opened up. And I have been in that position as well. And you do get I call them intuitive hits. You are guided to do different things. And so that's one of the things that I just wanted to point out is that that's what Reiki does, is it allows you to connect to this flow of divine love and source and creator. And, we can define it in so many different ways, in so many different cultures and so many different religions, but there is something greater there that flows to us and through us. And Reiki is just one of the ways to allow us to get our bodies relaxed enough so that we can get into the state where we're feeling that. So thank you for explaining that, because my mom was a Reiki master. And so I grew up in a family of people that, did this kind of stuff. But thank you for explaining that for our listeners. So yeah. I know we're getting close to being here for an hour. What else do we want to know about? Yeah, please do.
I also do Reiki for pets, and that is so much fun. Pets speak to you. Dogs really speak to you. They will position their body in ways they're like, yep, I want it right here on that hip, right there. And I've even made a very anxious dog fall asleep and begin to snore.
Awesome. My daughter calls me the dog.
They're a little more aloof. But my cat gets Reiki every now and again when she'll let me.
Yeah. I've actually done energy medicine on animals and pets as well. And they're more open to it. They don't have near the ego or the overlay. We have a lot of overlay. We have a lot of social ideas about things and cultural ideas about things and, what we've been taught and stuff like that. And your pets don't. And that's why they're so healing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing to do. So, what else did we not talk about Courtney? Because we're spotlighting Courtney tonight. She is our coach spotlight for tonight. We talked about Reiki. We've talked about, self-worth. But just listening to you, what do you want to tell people about your coaching practice? If I come to you and I say, hey, I'm kind of thinking about this being coached, what can I expect, Courtney? What can I expect from you? If I were to give you a call today and you were if you didn't know me and I was like, what is it? What's an integrative? What is that? What do you, nutrition? Are you a dietitian? What do you do? What can I expect from Courtney if I come to you?
Well, expect an open person, expect some questions, especially if you're just, wondering about coaching. I'll talk to you about my style, but I'll also be asking you questions to make sure that we're a good fit, because I want you to be comfortable working with me, and I want to make sure that I have the gifts that would work for you, because not everybody is a good fit. And when I meet somebody that's not a good fit, I always think in my circle, who would be a good fit for this person, and give them a recommendation. But for me, I always talk about, what makes you think that you need a coach? You know, what's going on in your life? And I really use a lot of my intuition to guide that session and many of my sessions, because not one person is the same. Maybe they come to me for the exact same thing, but their path is different than their path, than their path, than their path. So it's just a lot of getting to know my clients and figuring out their specific needs and helping them figure out their specific plans, what they want to do, and digging deeper. So it's uncomfortable at times. I would say for both of us as we're, navigating this, because we get into some uncomfortable topics, and that's necessary for healing and figuring things out. And, I get all the emotions from maybe being a little irritated at me to crying or laughing about things or anything like that. But I do like to start my sessions off with some breath work just to get us grounded. And I like to end on that as well. Just, it kind of encapsulates the session, and we can begin and end feeling grounded. And to me, that's important.
Courtney, what are some signs or symptoms that might be popping up in someone's life that could be an indicator to them that they might be ready to work with Courtney?
Oh, that's a good question. Feeling like they're stuck. Like, I'm in a relationship I don't like. I'm in a job I don't like, or I'm just not enjoying my life. Why is that? And those are good indicators. Just a feeling of dissatisfaction in certain areas of your life. I can't help with financial dissatisfaction. That's not my wheelhouse, but I know somebody who can, so I can refer them to that person. But I would say I'm more on the, I need a boost. I need a boost in life. I know that there's more, but I don't know how to get there.
And if somebody is interested in working with you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you? And then what is like the first next couple steps? Like, they get in contact with you, and then what? Do you get on a call, or do they fill out something, or how does that process look?
So it's pretty easy. First, somebody will contact me, and we'll have we might have a couple sessions or emails back and forth, just a little bit of getting to know. But I really want to get somebody on a discovery call, and that's a free call, and that's just us discovering a little bit more about each other and whether or not we're a good fit. Like, why is this person coming to me, and do I have the tools that can further them in what they're looking for? And to find me, you can find me on Facebook at Finding Balance with Courtney, LLC, or you can send me an email at finding.balance.with.courtney@gmail.com. Or you can reach out to the Powerful People Facebook page, and you can find me on there, because one of us will be monitoring that. And if a message comes through for any one of us, we can get it to the right person.
%.
Yeah. Awesome. I just love, we've been doing this for almost a year, but I just love hearing more about people's backgrounds and, their personal experiences and things like that. So that is fantastic. As we wrap this up, does anybody else want to have a question for Courtney, or anybody else want to weigh in before we kind of come to an end of our meeting here?
I would like to say that go ahead, Shannon.
I know we've all talked about you being in St. John, but I also want to point out that I'm in Texas. So your work is online, is remote. So you don't have to worry about being on the islands. If you're connecting with Courtney right now and you're like, yeah, I think this is the coach for me, you could be anywhere in the world.
That is true. And even with Reiki, I do distance Reiki as well for you and for your pets. Thank goodness for technology and Zoom. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But in closing, I'd like to say I'm so very blessed to be able to do what I do, because I do believe in the self-worth of each and every one of us. And I want us to be a stronger community of humans that believe in themselves and in turn each other. I think that's what's going to bring about some powerful, positive change in this world when we feel supported, like we matter, like we're worth it. And being a part of that change, it just tickles me pink. And I'm so grateful to have discovered this. I'm so grateful for all the things that have happened in my past to lead me to this point in time right now. It is a beautiful point in time with you, with the podcast, with what I'm doing, and what's happening spiritually in the world. We've never been here before, and it's very exciting. So thanks
Very
for
exciting.
Spotlighting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
I just love our group. I could just crawl through the little camera and give every one of you guys a big old hug and kiss. It's just such I know you get the little things. It's just such a fun thing. So fun. And we're going to continue to spotlight our coaches as we go through this, but we're super excited that you joined us again tonight on the Holistic Health Front podcast. And like Courtney mentioned, we do have a Facebook page, the Powerful People Community Facebook page, if you wanted to reach out to us.
Facebook group.
Facebook group. I apologize. Thanks, Tyler. You're right. It is not a page. You are totally right. Our Powerful People Facebook group. And don't hesitate to leave comments, beneath the podcast as we do this. And if there's things that podcast means something to you and you've gotten something out of it, we just ask you from the bottom of our hearts, please share it. Share it with others, because that's what we want to do. We want to, one person at a time, light up this world. A candle loses absolutely nothing when it lights another candle. And that's what we hope these podcasts are. We hope that if it reaches you, it might reach somebody else as well. And little by little, we're just going to make a positive impact and make a ripple effect around the world. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And until next time, have a good night. Good night, everybody.